was just a wee little lad, full of health and joy. My father homeward came one night, and gave to me a toy. A wonder to behold it was, with many colours bright. And the moment I laid eyes on it, it became my heart's delight. It went zip when it moved, and bop when it stopped, and whir when it stood still. I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. The first time that I picked it up, I had a big surprise, 'cause right on the bottom were two big buttons that looked like big green eyes. I first pushed one and then the other, then I twisted its lid. And when I set it down again, here is what it did. It went zip when it moved, and bop when it stopped, and whir when it stood still. I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. Well, there we have the Marvelous Toy song by Peter, Paul, and Mary, I believe. Anyway, has nothing absolutely to do with what we're doing today, cooking or otherwise, but I just like that song, so I thought I'd sing it. Most of the songs that have the term mushroom in them are songs I don't know or wouldn't want to repeat. Today we are making stuffed mushroom caps. Now I'm only going to make a few because there's just my dear wife Glennis and myself. And so if I made 20 or 30, we'd be eating stuffed mushroom caps from now till Easter. So I'm just going to make a few to demonstrate, but it makes a very nice little appetizer if you're having a party or before dinner. So, 3 ingredients. It's 3. I'm holding up 10 fingers. 3 ingredients. 3 ingredients. Shredded cheddar cheese, crumbled cooked bacon bits, and of course, mushrooms. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've already washed my mushrooms, but we're going to remove the stems. So, what you do, just kind of wiggle them back and forth and they'll come out. Because if you don't take the stems out, it's very hard to stuff the mushroom. And you'll have more than just the cap. Now don't throw away the stems. Once you've got them out, we're actually going to use them. Because they are perfectly edible. So, like I say, pretty easy to take them out. Just kind of wiggle them around and out they come. And of course, you all washed your hands. Well, this mushroom didn't get washed very well, that's for sure. Oh, I missed that. Of course, we all washed our hands before we started handling food. All right, oops. So we'll set the caps aside for now because they're the last thing we're going to use. Now the stems we'll take and we're going to just cut them up here. Just chop them up into little bits. When I say little bits, I mean little bits. Because remember, we're stuffing mushroom caps, which they're not very big. So if your pieces of stem are big, that's not going to work. Now, I can guarantee you, being that these stems filled up the mushrooms to start with, we are going to end up with more filling when we have mushroom caps. That's quite normal. But that's okay, you can always just put the remainder of the filling out as a dip or something. Add some sour cream to it, or some cream cheese, and make yourself a nice little dip. But today we're not making dip, we're making stuffed mushroom caps. So once we have our mushroom cap stuffed, I've got my cheddar cheese. I'm just going to add the chopped up stems into the cheddar cheese and such. There we go. Now I have preheated my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. There, we'll just kind of, oops-a-daisy, escape, can't help from escaping. We'll just kind of blend that all together, mix it together in the bowl. Okay, that's step. Next step, we're going to add our bacon bits. Now, how much you use is up to you. Just get your fingers in here. Make sure you wash your hands, of course. And just mix your ingredients together. So now we have our stems chopped up to little bits. our bacon bits and our cheddar cheese all nicely mixed together in this bowl. And now comes the fun part. We start, now I've lined my dish with a piece of parchment paper, but you can just grease the bottom of a dish. If you're doing a lot, then use a cookie sheet. It'd be much easier. So you just take your mushroom caps and you start stuffing them. Just like that. Now once you've placed it in the dish, then you can take some extra stuffing and put on the top. It's okay to mound it up. As the cheese melts, it's going to sink down a little bit anyway. It's just not cooperating with me today at all, so I'll just I must have my tongue in the wrong side of my mouth. There we go. But, as I say, we're going to end up with far more stuffing than we have room for, because we've added the stems in here, which took up most of the space we're filling now. And if little bits fall over onto the parchment paper, well, don't worry about it. That'll be a snack for you after you take them out of the oven and get them ready to give to your guests. Because they're going to love these so much they aren't going to leave any for you, because you're a gracious host or hostess, and they're hungry guests, so they're gonna chow down on these and leave none for you. So your reward is in watching people eat them and go, oh man, these are good. Can I get the recipe? And you can say, no, it's an old family recipe. Just don't tell them it's not your family, and then they'll be flummoxed. Here we go. Like I say, pile the stuffing up a little bit on the top. Fill your mushroom cap and then pile your stuffing up on the top, because it will, as the cheese melts, it's going to collapse into the mushroom a little bit. Now you can use smaller caps than these. You can use different mushrooms as well, but these are just sort of the regular white mushrooms you'd buy in your produce department. And, there's no set recipe as to how much of anything you put in. If you like cheese more than you do bacon, then put in more cheese. If you like bacon more than you do cheese, then put in more bacon. If you don't want to add the chopped up mushroom stem bits and just want to use bacon and cheese, you can do that. If you're a vegetarian and don't want the bacon, then you could chop up some green pepper or something else to put in there instead of the bacon. Now, because I'm using bacon bits, I haven't added salt or pepper, because, as you all know, bacon has its own sort of amount of salt in it. So I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm doing 8 caps here, which is not really that many. Normally, if I was doing this, it would be for a party or a gathering, and I would probably do 30 or 40. So we'd be, a lot more. But I had 8 leftover mushrooms from other things I've been doing, and so there we go. Now, as you can see, I still have quite a bit of filling there, and that's okay. We'll make use of that. I've already preheated my oven to 375, and now what we're going to do with these is we're going to put them in the oven for 15 minutes. So, take them over here. Place them in the oven. Set the timer for 15 minutes. And we'll be back in 15 minutes to see how they've turned out. So, don't go away. Well, I'm back again, because while those are cooking, we can do something else. Okay, what am I going to do with this leftover stuffing? Well, here's an idea. How about stuffed baked potatoes? So, just want a couple of medium-sized potatoes. Cut them in half. Take a spoon. Scoop out a chunk in the middle. And we go. And scrape that off to the side. And we will take our extra stuffing and we will put it in our potatoes. Who doesn't like a good stuffed baked potato, huh? Alrighty, we'll take this out. And I'm just going to set these in here around the edge. The edge will help hold them up. You say, well, what am I going to do with this? Well, you just stick that right in the middle and bake it right along with the rest of the stuff. Now, what's good if you have them, I don't have any at the moment, but what you can do and add to this if you like is some chives. Once you got them in the sauce or in the container here, you can take the rest of your filling and add it in there. And there we go. If you want, you can cover the top with the bits you pulled out, just to make it a little more interesting looking. And once our mushroom caps come out of the oven, we can pop these in. Or the other option is you can do these in the microwave. So I'm not going to cook these on the air, but there we go. Some whoops, as I totally undo my work here. Some stuffed baked potatoes, which are super yummy, and like I say, find out the best way to lean that up against the edge. But I will cook these just before we have supper tonight. How long you need to cook them for depends on how many potatoes you're doing and the size of the potatoes. For these four, if I did them in the microwave, probably about 9 to 10 minutes on high would cook the potatoes and melt the cheese and make everything nice and good. If you're doing them in the oven, probably 350 for maybe 15-20 minutes. Alrighty, we'll be back when the mushroom caps are ready. The years have gone by too quickly it seems. I have my own little boy, and yesterday I gave to him my marvelous little toy. His eyes nearly popped right out of his head, and he gave a squeal of glee. Neither one of us know just what it was, but he loves it just like me. It still goes zip when it moves, and bop when it stops, and whir when it stands still. I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. And our mushroom caps are ready. And we'll bring them right out of the oven. Close the oven door gently this week and not let it go bang like I did last week. And we'll put these on a plate and they'll be ready to serve to guests or to my wife if she comes home from cards. So that's a very simple recipe. Like I say, 3 ingredients. Mushroom caps. Well, 4 if you count the stems as a separate ingredient, but mushroom caps, bacon bits, cheese, whether you use cheddar or Swiss or whatever you prefer. I use cheddar today, that's my preference. It melts nicely. But there you have it. And just take this, wash and remove the stems from your mushrooms. Chop up the stems. Mix your 3 ingredients, the stem
bits, the cheddar cheese and the bacon bits together. Or, like I say, if you're a vegetarian, then perhaps use some bell pepper or another ingredient and mix them together, and then stuff them back into the caps. Bake them for 15 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and voila. Now, you want to let them cool a little bit before you serve them to your guests, or you're going to be burning their mouths. So I'd let them cool for probably maybe 5 minutes, but serve them while they're still warm. So I hope you enjoyed today's recipe. It's rather simple, pretty easy to do. The only way you can go wrong is either cut yourself with a knife, set the wrong temperature on the oven, or leave them in the oven too long. So the biggest and most important thing when it comes to cooking is paying attention to your time, your oven temperature, and what you're doing with your hands. That way you're less likely to cut yourself. And most people burn food because they put something in the oven and then they go off and get distracted doing something else and forget about what's in the oven. So you don't want to do that. So don't try and multitask too much when you're cooking food, especially if you are known to burn things. Concentrate on what you're doing. At that time, don't multitask. Just let it be what it is, and cook what you're cooking, and you'll do just fine. And there we go. Until Friday, when we have our groaner and our shout-outs, and continue on with the Answers Man and Frank and Abby mystery with Chapter 3. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.